I've always considered myself a rational person. I don't believe in ghosts, spirits, or things that go bump in the night. At least, I didn't. It all started so innocently. Just a small puddle of water on my kitchen floor. I figured it was the old fridge acting up again. So I mopped it up and didn't think twice about it. But the next morning, it was back. This time, it wasn't just a puddle. It was a single, perfect, wet footprint, right in the middle of the linoleum. It was barefoot, slender, and definitely not mine. My heart did a little flutter kick of unease, but I pushed it down. Maybe a neighbor's kid played a prank? It was a stretch, I know, but what other explanation was there? I live alone on the 3rd floor. There's no way someone could just wander in. I mopped it up again, my mind racing. That night, I made sure every window was latched, the deadbolt was thrown, and the chain was on the door. I even wedged a chair under the doorknob, just like in the movies. It felt silly, but it made me feel a tiny bit safer. When I woke up the next morning, a cold dread washed over me before I even got out of bed. I tiptoed to the kitchen, my breath held tight in my chest. There they were, 2 footprints this time. One where the first had been, and another one a step ahead of it. It was like someone was taking a slow, deliberate walk across my kitchen in the dead of night, and I was only seeing the evidence one step at a time. The water was still cold and fresh, glistening under the morning light. It was impossible. This continued for a week. Every morning, a new footprint. 3, then 4, then 5. A clear trail was forming, leading from the back door, past the refrigerator, and heading straight for the hallway that led to my bedroom. The rational part of my brain was screaming, trying to find a logical reason. A slow leak in the ceiling. No, the plaster was bone dry. Condensation from pipes under the floor? I checked, and they were fine. I was going crazy. That had to be it. Stress, lack of sleep. It was all manifesting as this strange, watery hallucination. But it felt so real. The chill of the wet floor, the perfect shape of the toes and heel. It was too detailed to be a trick of the mind. By the 8th night, the trail of footprints had reached the threshold of the kitchen. One more step and it would be in the hallway. I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, my ears straining for any sound over the hum of the city outside. Every creak of the building made me jump. Every distant siren sounded like a scream. I was unraveling. The fear was a living thing inside me, coiling in my stomach. I knew I couldn't go on like this. I had to prove to myself that I was either crazy or that something was seriously wrong. I needed proof, something undeniable. That's when I came up with a plan. It was a desperate, last-ditch effort to reclaim my sanity. I went to the store and bought the biggest bag of all-purpose flour I could find. That evening, after mopping up the latest footprint, I went to work. I carefully, methodically, dusted the entire kitchen floor with a fine, even layer of white flour. It looked like a fresh blanket of snow. Any movement, any disturbance at all, would be captured perfectly. I was terrified, but also strangely exhilarated. Tonight, I would have my answer. I went back to my bedroom, leaving the door slightly ajar so I could hear. I set my alarm for 3 a.m., which seemed to be the witching hour in all the scary stories. I wasn't going to sleep. I was going to wait. Lying in the dark, I watched the minutes tick by on my phone. 1 a.m., 2 a.m. The silence in the apartment was deafening. It felt heavier, more oppressive than usual. At 2:58, my heart started pounding like a drum against my ribs. I sat up, my body tense. And then I heard it. A soft, shuffling sound from the kitchen. It was faint, but it was there. Arish, like bare feet dragging through the flour. My blood ran cold. It was real. It was actually happening. I grabbed my phone, my hand shaking so much I could barely turn on the flashlight. Taking a deep, ragged breath, I swung my legs out of bed and crept towards the sound. I peered through the crack in my bedroom door, my phone's light cutting a trembling beam into the darkness. And I saw them. In the pristine white flour, a new set of wet footprints were appearing, one by one. But there was no one there. The prints were just forming. Out of thin air, a dark, wet depression would appear in the flour, then another, and another, the water instantly soaking the white powder into a gray paste. They were moving. Slowly, deliberately. They were continuing the path from the night before, heading straight down the hall, straight towards my bedroom. I felt a scream rising in my throat, but it was trapped, choked by pure terror. I couldn't move. I was frozen, watching this impossible sight unfold. The wet, ghostly footsteps continued their silent march down the hall. They reached my doorway. They stopped. The last footprint was right on the threshold, a dark, glistening shape against the pale wood of the floor. My mind was short-circuiting. What did it want? Why was it here? I stood there for what felt like an eternity, my own feet rooted to the spot, the phone shaking in my hand. The beam of light danced over the empty hallway, the trail of wet prints in the flour, and the final, ominous footprint at my door. The silence returned, heavy and absolute. Then, behind me, inside my room was sound. A soft, wet squelch. My heart stopped. I didn't want to turn around. Every instinct I had was screaming at me to run, to bolt out the door, to never look back. But I couldn't. I was paralyzed. Slowly, fighting against every terrified fiber of my being, I turned. I lowered the beam of my phone's flashlight, tracing it from the wall, down to the floor. And there, right behind where I had been standing, was a single, fresh, wet footprint. It hadn't been there a second ago. And this one was different. All the others had been facing away from me, walking towards my room. This one was facing me. It was waiting. Thanks for watching. If you have your own unexplained story, share it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more chills. Stay safe out there.